Welcome to Swords and Hammers, where truth comes clothed in tales, and the soul remembers what the mind forgets. The world is loud, but for these few minutes it can wait. Settle in and listen well. The Knight Who Knelt. A tale of the King's Road. There was in the days of a great king a knight called Avery, and he was accounted among the finest of that realm. He had ridden in tourneys and taken renown. His arm was strong, his word trusted, and no quest appointed him had he failed to complete. Now it came to pass that the king summoned Avery to his great hall and set before him a charge unlike any other. "Walk the road I have laid from this gate to the far throne," the king said. "Walk it faithful to the last step, and upon it you shall find your joy." Avery knelt, as was fitting for a ceremony of oaths, and he swore the vow with a full and confident heart. He took up the sword the king had placed in his hands at his first knighting, and he set forth at dawn, with the road bright before him. He did not ask for a guide. He did not think he needed one. The road was narrow and cut through wild country, stones, dust, and open wind. For the first day, Avery walked well, his stride long, his voice lifted in the songs of his order. But on the second day, the road bent where he hadn't expected, and his feet took a turning he had not chosen. He found himself standing in a market town, where bright things lay upon tables, gold coins stacked in towers, silk dyed in colours that ached to be touched, rings that caught the light and would not release it. He lingered there longer than he intended. His fingers brushed the gold, and something in his chest leaned toward it, heavy as thirst in a dry country. He returned to the road at last, but his legs were slower, and the sword at his hip dragged against him like an accusation he could not answer. On the third day, Avery noticed that his eyes wouldn't hold to the path. They drifted to every hollow diversion along the roadside. A dice game rattling beneath a tent, a table of copper trinkets, worth nothing and promising everything. He told himself he would not look, and then he looked. He told himself he would walk faster, and then his feet grew heavy as wet clay. By the seventh day, his shoulders ached beneath the weight of the sword. His hands, which had once gripped the blade with pride at his knighting, now trembled and could not hold it steady. And a thought came to him, cold and unwelcome. He had never truly been strong enough for this road. Every quest before had been brief, the path short, the victory near at hand. This road had no visible end, and it demanded not one great act of valor, but 1,000 quiet acts of faithfulness, each step a fresh renewal of the oath he had sworn. He sat upon a stone and stared at his hands. He had sworn to walk to the end, and he could not walk another mile. The disgrace pressed upon his chest. Not the wound of combat, but the deeper shame of a vow broken by a knight who believed himself unbreakable. His hands were shaking. It was there, upon that stone beside the failing road, that an old pilgrim found him. The man was called Cade, and he was neither tall nor armed. His cloak was well worn, his face creased with the patience of long walking. He carried only a staff worn smooth by countless years of leaning. "You are the knight who swore the oath," Cade said. Avery nodded, and the shame in his throat was thick as mud. "I cannot walk this road," he said. "My eyes will not hold to it. My heart chases gold when it ought to chase the king's command. My hands cannot grip the sword he gave me. I am not the knight I was sworn to be." Cade sat down beside him and was quiet a long while. Then his voice came low and steady, like water running over ancient rock. "Tell me, did the king ask you to walk this road by your own strength?" "He asked me to walk it," Avery said. "Surely that is the same thing." "No," Cade replied. "It is not the same thing at all." He pointed to the sword lying across Avery's knees. "That blade was given, not earned. The road was laid by his hand, not yours. The oath you swore was answered before you ever spoke it. The king knew what you would need before you knew what you lacked." "Then what am I to do?" Avery whispered, and his voice cracked more than he would have liked. "You are to ask," said Cade. "Ask him to teach you the road, for you have not understood it. Ask him to give you eyes to see, for yours now bend toward what is shallow. To move your feet, for they will not walk rightly on their own. To kindle eagerness for his commands, for your heart runs after lesser gold. To turn your gaze from every worthless thing that robs your attention. To reassure you of his promise, for your grip upon hope is weaker than you dare confess. To help you abandon the ways that disgrace you. And to renew your life, not with your effort, knight, but with his goodness." Avery stared at the old man. "That is 8 prayers," he said slowly, "and not one of them trusts my own hands." "Now," said Cade, "you begin to understand." Avery did not rise at once. He sat upon that stone, while the sun dropped behind the hills, and the road stretched before him, in the fading gold of evening. He had polished his armor so long, he had forgotten the rust beneath it. Every quest, every tourney, every oath kept by the force of his own arm, all of it had raised a tower inside him, and its name was pride. And pride does not kneel willingly. But the sword lay heavy across his knees, and the road ran on without end, and he knew, with a knowledge deeper than any argument, that he could not take another step by his own will and name it faithfulness. He could drag his body forward, yes. He could grit his teeth and march toward the king's far throne. But the king had not asked for the general direction. He had asked for the path, each step placed with a whole heart, desires ordered, hands open. And that Avery could not do, not alone. Not ever alone. So he did what he had never truly done in all his years of knighthood. He knelt. Not the courtly kneeling of a ceremony, but the kneeling of a man whose legs have given way beneath him. He laid the sword upon the ground before him, the blade flat against the dust, and Avery prayed, "Teach me, my king, for I have walked in ignorance and called it wisdom. Give me understanding, for I have kept the letter of your law and missed its living heart. Make me walk, for my feet are drawn to every road but yours. Give me eagerness for your commands, and let the gold lose its grip upon my gaze. Turn my eyes from what is empty and vain. Reassure me of your promise, for I cannot hold it on my own. Help me leave behind the ways that have disgraced me, and renew my life, not by my strength, my king, but by your goodness alone." The wind stilled, and the road was silent. It was the first honest prayer he had ever prayed. He knelt there for a time he could not measure. It may have been a few drawn breaths, or it may have been the turning of a whole season within his chest. When he opened his eyes, the road had not changed. The stones were the same, the dust the distance, the open wind. But when he reached for the sword, it was lighter than he remembered, not because the blade had changed, but because the hand that gripped it was no longer gripping alone. He rose. Cade was gone. Or perhaps he had never been more than a voice the king had sent along that road. It did not matter. What mattered was the dust beneath his feet, the prayer upon his lips, and the goodness that moved through him like water filling a well long dry. A knight who kneels before his king rises taller than one who never bows. Avery walked, not as a conqueror of the road, but as one the road itself was carrying. Each step was given, each breath a granted thing. The road does not ask for strong legs, it asks for a surrendered heart. And this was the truest lesson of his long journey, that the soul which confesses that it cannot walk is the very soul the king delights to carry. And the goodness of the king went before him, beside him, and beneath every step he was given to take. This king has a name: Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And might I remind you, one need not be a knight to kneel. Selah.